Hello and welcome to Who Knows Best. It's so great to have you with me today. Today is Laetare Sunday, and the video I've chosen for today, it's a little different than the readings you might have heard today, but it is about journeying in Lent. It is about forgiveness and mercy. Laetare Sunday, as you're going to hear in my talk, is about rejoicing. And what is it that we're going to rejoice about? So that's why I chose the video that I did. So here it is. It's a 2-minute video, and then stay here and join me. Thanks. God bless.
To all the weary souls, whoever you are, whatever you've done, however broken or lost you feel, Jesus didn't come to shame or reject you. He came to rescue you, to lift you from the depths, to carry you when you can't keep going, to bring light into your darkness. He sees you, He knows you, and still, He chooses you. His rescue isn't just temporary, it's eternal, and it transforms everything. Not only does He forgive, He invites you into something deeper, a relationship marked by grace, healing, and hope. You were never meant to be alone. You were created for more. Just ask the woman at the well, shamed and isolated, yet seen and restored. Or the demon-possessed man, chained by darkness until Jesus set him free. Or Joseph, betrayed and forgotten, yet rescued to save many. Jesus has a vision for your life, one filled with purpose, peace, and the power to begin again. He came not to condemn the world, but to save it. So come to Him, let Him find you, let Him free you, let Him rescue you. Your story isn't over. It's just getting started.
Hello and welcome to Who Knows Best. Recently I started something new. I began driving Uber. Yep. Now I'm only day 3 into this, but I've really met all kinds of interesting people. Some get in the car smelling like they just smoked pot. Some get in the car from the bar who smell like alcohol. Some riders are very quiet, and some riders are non-stop talkers. And if I'm honest, sometimes I find myself making quick judgments about the people before they get into the car, before I pull away from the curb. One night I got a ping on the Uber app to go and pick up 2 young men at this place called Shake Shack. They got into the car, and based on the way they were dressed and the way they were acting before they got into the car and the way to the car, I immediately thought to myself, uh-oh, this is going to be interesting. Going to be quiet and just drive. I don't want anyone picking on me or anything else like that. They're about 15, 16 years old. And, as humans, we quickly try to size up people. We try to, maybe we're trying to prepare ourselves for something. I don't know why we do it. But we make judgments on people based on the way they look or what we see. And what was interesting, though, was during that about 20-minute ride, something happened. We started talking. We talked about sports, politics, religion, all the things that you're not supposed to talk about in general. And it was all them. It wasn't me. And at one point, one of the young men asked me an interesting question that threw me for a loop. He said, "Do you have any advice for guys our age?" Now I'm thinking to myself, I'm a 63-year-old Uber driver. Do these guys really want to hear what I have to say, advice from me? But again, if you know me, if you ask me a question like that, I'm going to answer it. And I gave my advice. And by the end of the ride, the conversation was so wonderful. They said it was a pleasant ride. And later that evening on the Uber app, I noticed something else, a $10 tip from that ride. And in that moment, I realized something. The problem wasn't them. The problem was my assumption about them. By appearance, I thought one thing, but after talking with them, I began to see something very different. In fact, I felt a little bit like the Grinch whose heart grew 3 sizes that day. My respect for that younger generation grew, and I found myself feeling hopeful for the future. And that experience reminded me of something very important that we hear today in this Sunday's readings. And by the way, this Sunday in the Catholic Church is called Laetare Sunday. And the word Laetare is Latin, and it means the word rejoice. And I'm sure you find it interesting. Why would we do rejoice? We're journeying along in Lent, and we're doing penance, and we're doing sacrifices, and we're giving things up, we're doing things extra, and we're supposed to be getting ourselves ready, repentant wise, for Easter. But during this week, it's something interesting in the Catholic Church. There's a tradition that goes back about 1,000 years. And if you go to church this weekend, you'll see, or if you've already gone to church, you'll notice the priests are wearing what's called a rose vestment. Okay, it looks pink, okay, but it's rose colored. And that tradition goes back about 1,000 years, like I said, because in medieval Rome, the Pope did something interesting. Hopefully it's behind my head. I'm not sure if I can find one. The Pope would take a golden rose, and it was a beautiful rose. Again, it was made of gold, and that rose symbolized joy and hope in the middle of Lent. It's been 1,000 years we've been doing this. And so the rose vestments that we see today are a reminder of that message. Even in the middle of penance, there's a reason for hope. Because again, so the vestments, last week were purple, next week are purple. And what happens is the gold, in a sense, drains some of that purple and it becomes rose. Okay, so that's the symbol that's kind of like you see here. This is violet. That's not rose, but I didn't have anything rose colored, so I wore a blue tie instead. But again, so it's a tradition that goes back 1,000 years, and I'm sure many people don't even know that, and even some priests don't even know that. These are the colors we wear today. All right, but again, it's not pink; it's rose, and it's because it's drained of some of the penance, in a sense, that we can remind ourselves that what we're doing. Okay, that's what this is all about. And again, it's going back to that Uber ride where we make the judgments on what we think we see. And what I love, if we go back to the first reading today, the first reading is Samuel, and Samuel is sent to choose a new king for Israel. And he looks at the strong and impressive sons of Jesse, and he assumes that one of them must be it. One of them must be God's choice. And he goes through each one. It's like, it's not him. It's not him. It's not him. But God stops him and says something powerful. Man sees the appearance, but the Lord looks into the heart. And eventually, Samuel, as we know from the story, and there's a great show on Prime Video if you get a chance to watch about David, the youngest son, David, who was out in the fields and no one expected because he plays I think it's called a lute. God sees what we often miss, and God sees that what David has, David's potential, right? To Jesse and to his brothers, he just looked like a shepherd, and also David was the son of an illegitimate marriage. I'm not going to say the word on here what they would have called him, right? And he is the one that God chooses. He is the one that God chooses to be the next king of Israel. And what makes this story fascinating is the real miracle in the gospel is not just about the healing of the eyes. So let's go back. We see this man in the gospel. He's blind, all right, and he's healed of his blindness. Okay, and the healing is kind of gradual. The healing of the eyes is immediate, but the healing of the man is gradual. And I think that's important when we look at David, when we make the judgment and we look at Israel that's going to be happening, that this is all going to take time. And God knows that. And again, that's why we're journeying during these 40 days of Lent. It's a gradual opening of his faith. And if we look closely at the story, like I said, we see four stages. At the beginning of the story, they ask him who healed him. He says, this man named Jesus. He doesn't know anything else about Jesus. He wasn't a follower. He wasn't a disciple. He wasn't anything like that. He just said, this man, Jesus. And later, when people are questioning him as we continue in the gospel, they say, who healed you? He says, he must have been a prophet. So look at the step. He goes from a man named Jesus to a prophet. And then again, as the story continues, and they pressure him now, he begins to defend Jesus and says that this man must be from God. Okay? Jesus, prophet from God. And finally, when Jesus meets him again, we'll hear this in the gospel, the man says something remarkable. He says, Lord, I believe. His eyesight was restored immediately, but his faith grew slowly, gradually, step by step. And that's how faith often grows in our own lives too. But there's another twist in the story. The man who is blind begins to see, but the people who think they see clearly, the religious leaders, turn out to be the ones who are truly blind. They question the miracle, they question the man, they question his parents, but they never question themselves. Sometimes blindness is not about our eyes, it's about our heart. St. Paul says in the second reading, you were once darkness, but now you are the light of the Lord. In other words, faith is about seeing differently. And maybe that is what the real message of this Sunday is. Sometimes God opens our eyes in unexpected ways through a conversation, through a stranger, through a moment we did not expect. For me, it happened in a 20-minute Uber ride. I began that ride judging by appearance, but by the end of the ride, I saw something deeper. And slowly, it took me till I got home to really have my heart grow and realize that I was the one that needed to look inside myself. And again, maybe that's what Jesus is telling us today. Not simply that we can see with our eyes, but whether we are willing to see with our hearts. And when that happens, we begin to discover something beautiful. There is some goodness in this world that better than we thought. And that especially in the middle of Lent gives us a reason to rejoice. Laetare Sunday, the golden rose. God bless you, everybody, and I'll see you next week.